Our very story as human beings is very much tied in with the history of our failure to triumph over the intrinsic perishability of food. Long before refrigeration came, the preservation of food was a matter of convenience, not less, but something fundamentally necessary for the survival of societies and, for better or worse, the fate of civilizations. The scarcity of readily available food, coupled with the unpredictable nature of harvests and the challenges of long-distance transport, forced our ancestors to develop incredibly diverse and ingenious methods for extending the shelf life of their sustenance. These techniques, honed and refined over millennia, represent a remarkable testament to human adaptability, resourcefulness, and an enduring connection to the land and its bounty. This comprehensive exploration takes a deep look into the world of food preservation, tracing the historical landscape, examining the scientific principles underlying each method, and highlighting their lasting impact on our diets, cultures, and global food systems. We will trace our way from ancient practices to cutting-edge technologies, exploring the minute details of 15 different preservation methods, their historical importance, practical uses, and continued relevance in a world increasingly concerned with sustainability and food security. 1. Canning, the hermetically sealed revolution. Canning is one of the cornerstones of modern food preservation and a testament to the transformative power of scientific discovery. Its origins date back to the early 19th century, when Nicolas Appert, a French confectioner and chef, discovered a revolutionary method for preserving food. Through meticulous experimentation, Appert discovered that heating food in tightly sealed containers prevented spoilage, a breakthrough that would forever alter the way we store and consume food. Initially, Appert's method was used primarily to provide the French military with stable provisions so that there would be safe, nutritious food available for soldiers in long campaigns. However, the implications of his discoveries soon spread beyond military applications, revolutionizing food production and distribution worldwide. The process of canning entails placing food inside airtight containers, typically glass jars or metal cans, then subjecting it to a heat treatment process that has been designed to eliminate spoilage-causing microorganisms. In this manner, the hermetic seal combined with the heat treatment creates an oxygen-free and moist-free environment which effectively prevents the growth of bacteria, yeast, and mold. Early canning methods were labor-intensive and often inconsistent, relying on rudimentary sealing techniques and imprecise temperature control. However, technological advancements over the centuries have significantly improved the efficiency and reliability of the canning process. The introduction of pressure cookers allowed for more precise temperature regulation, ensuring consistent heat penetration and complete sterilization. Such improvements resulted in the development of new, more advanced sealing mechanisms advancements which further enhanced the efficiency and safety of canned goods. Today, canning is one of the most common ways of preserving a huge number of foods, such as fruits, vegetables, meats, and sauces, making seasonal produce available throughout the year, subsequently reducing food wastage. The detailed science of heat transfer, microbial inactivation, and vacuum sealing makes the canned food safe and of high quality, hence appearing in most pantries. 2. Freezing, cryogenic preservation of flavor and nutrition. While the concept of freezing food has been around for centuries, using natural ice or snow, the true revolution in freezing technology came with the advent of mechanical refrigeration in the 20th century. This marked a new era of unprecedented food preservation capabilities that changed the way we produce, distribute, and consume food on a global scale. Home freezers and large-scale industrial freezing facilities made it possible to store a wide variety of perishable foods, thereby greatly extending their shelf life and allowing seasonal produce to be available all year round, regardless of location or harvest cycles. The scientific principle behind freezing is the drastic slowing down of microbial activity and enzymatic processes at sub-zero temperatures. Freezing effectively puts a stop to the growth of microorganisms, thereby preventing spoilage and maintaining the quality of the food. However, the process is not without its nuances. The formation of ice crystals within the food can affect its texture, and improper freezing techniques can lead to freezer burn, a condition characterized by dehydration and discoloration. Understanding the optimal freezing temperatures for different types of food, as well as appropriate packaging and storage techniques, is crucial for preserving both the nutritional value and the sensory qualities of the food. Freezing has gradually become an inseparable part of modern food preparation and distribution techniques, making tremendous amounts of fresh fruit, meat products, and other fragile commodities accessible throughout the world despite season and geolocation. Modernization of freezing through cryogenic and flash freezing increases the quality as well as speed of this integral preservation method continuously. 3. Drying, an age-old method based on the experience gained over successive generations. Arguably a method of preservation of food much older than some of the following, is still one of the most used procedures for increasing storage life of products by drying this out and discouraging the proliferation of microorganisms. Ancient men, in every known corner of Earth, from Mesopotamian and Egyptians to American natives, throughout the ages has dried food, mainly in places less favorable for immediate consumption. Methods include sun drying, air drying, and smoke drying. Each of these methods was tailored to local conditions and resources. The scientific principle of drying is the reduction of water activity. Water activity is a measure of the availability of water for microbial growth. If the is reduced below a critical threshold, drying effectively inhibits the growth of bacteria, yeasts, and molds, thereby greatly increasing the shelf life of food. This also tends to concentrate whatever nutrients and flavor compounds are remaining, which will often give an even more pronounced flavor profile. Modern drying technologies, including state-of-the-art dehydrators and controlled environmental chambers, now provide the potential for highly precise temperature and airflow controls, resulting in more consistent and efficient outcomes. These advanced technologies enable a broader range of foodstuffs to be preserved without significant loss of nutritional value. Drying is one of the most important preservation techniques to date, especially when refrigeration is not possible or feasible, like camping, backpacking, and long-term storage. Simplicity, effectiveness, and sustainability characterize drying as an essential tool in traditional and modern food preservation practices. 4. Salting, a culinary and preservation tradition spanning millennia. One of the oldest and most widely applied methods of food preservation is salt preservation, tracing back to the use of salt in the earliest known civilizations. Salt was applied by the Romans, Greeks, Egyptians, and countless other ancient civilizations to preserve fish, meat, and other food products. The efficacy of salt as a preservative comes from its capacity to remove water from the food through osmosis, making the environment hypertonic and thus unfavorable for the growth of microorganisms. Besides extending the shelf life of the food, it also provides that characteristic salty flavor, often considered an enhancement to the taste of the preserved food. In medieval Europe, salt was highly valued because of its preservative property. Often it served as currency. The high value that was accorded to salt clearly establishes its crucial role in food security. Salted provisions were an absolute necessity for long sea voyages and survival in severe winters. Therefore, during these times, such vital food supplies could be preserved. Dry salting, brining, and curing with many different forms further refined the development process for an incredibly varied assortment of preserved foodstuff. Modern use of salting also involves the processing of cured meat goods like bacon, ham, or sausages, not merely for their preserving effects, but especially to obtain various flavors, since salt facilitates an evolution into special, multi-profiled tastes. Scientific knowledge of the osmotic effects of salt and the interaction of salt with food proteins has enabled salting techniques to be optimized in terms of both safety and superior quality. 5. Smoking, a centuries-old blend of preservation and flavor enhancement. Smoking, a preservation method that dates back to ancient times, combines the antimicrobial action of smoke with the art of flavor enhancement. The smoke itself contains many compounds with antimicrobial activity that, along with dehydrating action, would limit the microbial growth of organisms that can contribute to spoilage. Thus, smoking is utilized by almost every culture from traditional, native-based civilizations to very modern and civilized nations in processing various types of meat, fish, and even cheese products to increase their shelf life. Smoking, besides being a preservative, also endows the food with a distinct smoky flavor and aroma. Its sensory qualities change as it assumes a characteristic smoky flavor, which may depend on the wood used for smoking, temperature of the smoke, and duration of smoking. Smoking techniques initially involve crude techniques with open fires or smoking chambers made from various makeshift structures. However, modern smoking techniques involve the use of high-tech smokers that control temperature and airflow with a precision that yields predictable results. Smoking has evolved into a highly advanced culinary art, imparting complex and subtle flavors to various foodstuffs, turning them into masterpieces. Scientific understanding of smoke chemical composition and its antimicrobial properties, as well as its effects on food ingredients, has greatly helped in improving techniques for smoking both safe and flavorful preserved foods. 6. Sugar preservation. A sweet preservative extends shelf life. The earliest history of preserving foods with the help of sugar goes back thousands of years ago in ancient cultures when they could notice that sugars can inhibit growth and reproduction. Its effectiveness mainly depends on a high osmotic pressure, whereby water is absorbed out of the microbial cells. This principle is used in the manufacture of jams, jellies, preserves, and other sweet goodies, where high sugar concentrations prevent spoilage effectively. The process often involves heating the food with sugar, which creates a syrupy consistency that further inhibits microbial growth. The added benefit of sugar is, of course, the enhancement of flavor and sweetness, making preserved foods more palatable. The scientific understanding of sugar's osmotic effects and its interaction with microbial cells has allowed for the development of precise guidelines for sugar preservation, ensuring consistent results and preventing spoilage. Modern methods often incorporate precise temperature control and sterile processing techniques, ensuring the safety and quality of preserved products. Sugar preservation remains the most prevalent method to preserve fruits and other perishable foods, especially in home kitchens and small-scale food production. The flexibility of sugar preservation, besides contributing to the development of flavor in preserved foods, makes it a very resourceful and long-lasting technique. 7. Fermentation, a microbial symphony of preservation and flavor. Fermentation involves the use of microorganisms' metabolic activity to serve as an unusual yet ancient method of preserving foods. Fermentation has been used by cultures across the globe for millennia to preserve foods, such as dairy products, yogurt, cheese, vegetables, sauerkraut, kimchi, and beverages, beer, wine. This is a process where there is controlled growth of desirable microorganisms, which will produce lactic acid, acetic acid, or other antimicrobial compounds that will inhibit the growth of spoilage organisms. Not only does it increase the shelf life of food, but also develops characteristic flavors and textures. Science has, in the most recent past, significantly improved upon its understanding of fermentation. Through such advancement, processes are even more controlled and efficient. Application of starter cultures, comprising very well selected microorganisms, guarantees uniformity in fermentation. Predictability has also been included through the addition of accurate controls of temperature and environment for enhanced fermentation. Fermentation remains an essential method in the preservation of food, and with its ever-increasing significance, especially when related to the manufacture of probiotic-rich foodstuffs and drinks, there are so many benefits to good health. In general, this diversity and its healthy attributes contribute to the continuing appeal of fermentation, both as a means of preserving and as an art of preparation. 8. Pickling, brine-based preservation tradition. Pickling is a process of preserving food in an acidic brine that has been around for centuries. It is one of the reliable ways to extend the shelf life of vegetables, fruits, and even meats. The acidic environment created by the brine, usually consisting of vinegar, salt, and water, inhibits the growth of spoilage microorganisms, thereby preventing spoilage and preserving the food's quality. There are various types of pickling, each with its own characteristic flavor profile. Often spices and herbs are included in the brine, which adds to the pickled product's flavor. The science of pickling is based on the low pH value in the brine that forbids the growth of most spoilage bacteria. Modern pickling techniques involve tight control over the acidity and salt concentration levels in the brine, ultimately providing for consistent results and ensuring food safety. Pickling remains one of the most popular preservation methods for many foods, especially vegetables, to be enjoyed all year round. Its versatility and unique flavor profiles have contributed to its continued popularity as a preservation technique and an art form in the culinary world. 9. Oil preservation, ancient method to protect food. Oil preservation began with ancient people, providing a simple means through which people could store certain foods for longer periods. It was achieved by submerging food in oil, mainly olive oil or any other vegetable oil, forming an oxygen and water impermeable barrier around it, preventing the growth of microbes. This method is especially useful for preserving foods that are already relatively dry, such as olives, cheeses, and certain meats. The oil also gives the preserved food a characteristic flavor and texture. Scientifically, the preservation of oil is achieved by creating an environment that lacks oxygen, inhibiting the proliferation of aerobic microorganisms that rely on oxygen to live. Often, in recent methods, quality oils with excellent stability and oxidation resistance are selected for preservation. Food quality remains maintained for long periods. This is one method still applicable, especially for specific traditional food items and local cuisine specialties. The simplicity and efficiency of the process make oil preservation a technique used in diverse contexts. 10. Dehydration, drying for preservation over the long haul. Dehydration, or removing moisture from food to inhibit microbial growth, has been in use for centuries. This simple method of preservation is quite effective. Natural methods include sun drying and air drying. Modern techniques utilize dehydrators with control over temperature and airflow to ensure maximum effectiveness of the dehydration process. The removal of moisture dramatically reduces the water activity of the food, making it unsuitable for microbial growth. Dehydrated foods are lightweight and compact, making them ideal for storage and transport. The scientific basis of dehydration is the lowering of water activity to levels below that which is necessary for microbial growth. Modern dehydrators allow precise control over temperature and airflow, thus ensuring consistent drying and minimizing nutrient loss. Dehydration remains a valuable method, particularly for fruits, vegetables, and herbs, which can extend their shelf life and make them readily available throughout the year. 11. Smoking, an ancient method of preserving and adding flavors to food. Smoking is the ancient preservation process, where a combination of effects of dehydration with the antimicrobial action of smoke preserves food by making it unfit for the microorganisms. Here, food products are exposed to smoke generated by burning wood material that contains numerous chemical compounds which are antimicrobial in nature. These compounds inhibit spoilage microorganisms, while the dehydration process further decreases the water activity, creating an environment unfavorable for microbial growth. Smoking also gives the food a distinctive smoky flavor, which should improve its taste. Scientifically, the preservation effect of smoking has been well developed. Specific compounds found in smoke are responsible for the antimicrobial activity. Smoking methods have become advanced with modern controls on temperature and humidity to get the best possible outcomes and ensure the consistency of results. Smoking remains a very important method for the preservation of meat, fish, and other foods, especially within traditional cuisines. It provides preservation as well as flavoring, which is why it's such a worthwhile and enduring method. 12. Salting, an ancient and effective preservation method. Salting is one of the oldest known preservation methods. It makes use of the osmotic pressure to suppress microbial growth. When salt is added to food, it draws out water from the microbial cells and does not allow them to grow or reproduce. For thousands of years, it has been used to preserve meats, fish, and vegetables. It extends their shelf life, allowing them to be consumed throughout the year. Salt also gives food a distinctive salty flavor. Scientific knowledge has helped to obtain clear guidelines of salting such that spoilage and inconsistency at times are reduced to the limit. Most often, modernization is combined with controlled salting techniques and use of refrigerators for the achievement of better effects in the course of the food product. Nevertheless, salting remains a pretty valuable method, which is employed today mainly in traditional recipes and in various products. A high level of simplicity, along with efficiency, helps this method win popularity among a broad range of consumers. 13. Irradiation, a newer method of food preservation. Irradiation is a relatively modern method of food preservation. This technique involves the use of ionizing radiation to kill spoilage microorganisms and extend the shelf life of food. In this process, food is exposed to controlled doses of gamma rays, X-rays, or electron beams that damage the DNA of microorganisms, thereby preventing their growth and reproduction. Irradiation does not make food radioactive, and it is a safe and effective method for preserving a wide range of foods. It is particularly useful for extending the shelf life of fruits, vegetables, spices, and other perishable products. The scientific basis of irradiation is the destructive effect of ionizing radiation on microbial DNA. Modern irradiation facilities have the precise control of dosage of radiation to ensure food safety and effectiveness. Although irradiation is a safe and effective technique, it has faced some public resistance due to misconceptions about its effects. However, it is widely used in many countries to preserve food and ensure food safety. 14. High-pressure processing, HPP, a new preservation method. High-pressure processing, or pascalization, is a relatively new preservation method that relies on high hydrostatic pressure to inactivate microorganisms. It involves the application of extremely high pressures, between 400 and 800 MPa, for a given period. The high pressure damages the cell structure of microorganisms, which inhibits their growth and multiplication. HPP is a non-thermal process, which does not involve heating, in order to preserve the nutritional value and sensory qualities of food. The scientific understanding of high-pressure effects on microorganisms has led to the development of sophisticated HPP equipment that allows for precise control over pressure and processing time. HPP is used to preserve a variety of foods, including juices, ready-to-eat meals, and other perishable products. It is particularly useful for preserving foods that are sensitive to heat treatment. 15. Modified atmosphere packaging, MAP, controlling the environment. Modified atmosphere packaging, or MAP, is a food preservation method whereby the gaseous environment within a package is modified to increase the shelf life of the food. Typically, this involves decreasing the oxygen and increasing the carbon dioxide or nitrogen in the package. The modified atmosphere does not allow the aerobic microorganisms to grow. It slows down spoilage and hence increases the shelf life of the food. Some of the applications of MAP are for fresh produce, meats, and other perishable items. Precise methods of MAP were developed based on scientific knowledge regarding the impact of various gas mixtures on microbial growth. Most modern MAP systems include sensors and control systems to ensure a desired gas composition within the package. This technique is one of the most widely used preservation techniques in the food industry. With proper use of MAP, food waste has been minimized and product shelf life increased. This discussion of 15 varied food preservation techniques illustrates the creativity and innovation that have contributed to our ability to access a broad range of foodstuffs. Ranging from the most ancient techniques passed through generations to modern advanced technology, each method provides unique means in relation to the extension of shelf life of food, leading to a food security guarantee. This would enrich our appreciation for culinary history and, more importantly, provide a better understanding of the science and technology behind our food system. 16. Dehydration/drying. Harnessing the power of evaporation. Dehydration, or drying, is an ancient technique that removes moisture from food, inhibiting microbial growth. This can be achieved through sun drying, air drying, freeze drying, or using dehydrators. Each method offers varying degrees of preservation and impacts the final texture and flavor of the food. Sun drying is the simplest and utilizes solar energy. Freeze drying offers better preservation because the food is frozen quickly before sublimation, the removal of water as ice. Dehydration works well for fruits, vegetables, and meats. However, the final product is highly changed in texture and is often used as a dried good that must be rehydrated to eat. 17. Freeze drying. Advanced dehydration for better preservation. Freeze drying is a highly advanced dehydration process. Freeze drying is more superior than any other traditional drying methods. It freezes the food and then draws a vacuum. The ice is sublimating directly into vapor to remove water, while not much structurally altering and degrading its nutritional value. This leads to a light and long-lasting product that can regain its original state by only hydration. Freeze drying is sometimes used on the most expensive materials, such as coffee, drugs, and specialized foods. 18. Pickling, a fermented and acidic method for preservation. Pickling is closely related to fermentation. However, this preservation method uses acidic solutions, such as vinegar, which halt the proliferation of microorganisms by creating a low pH solution that successfully preserves vegetables, fruits, and even some meats. Pickling also lends a distinct sour flavor, which means different flavor preferences from the ordinary culinary flavors. It can be used in combination with fermentation to produce even more complex preservation with the final product. 19. Lactic acid fermentation, a natural preservation process. This process, in which good bacteria convert the sugars present to lactic acid, is one of the fermentation methods. It reduces the pH level of food so that there will be a harsh environment to compete with any kind of spoiling microorganism. Various products like sauerkraut, kimchi, yogurt, and pickles can be manufactured by this procedure. The resultant product not only possesses a long shelf life, but also gets certain distinct flavors and textures. 20. Method combinations, synergistic preservation techniques. Most of the food preservation methods nowadays involve the combination of several techniques to produce optimal results. For instance, a product can be treated with both high-pressure processing and modified atmosphere packaging to achieve maximum shelf life and quality. Salting, for example, can be combined with smoking or drying to increase the preservation effect of each individual method. Such synergistic approaches are indicative of a greater understanding of the scientific principles involved in food preservation, leading to more efficient and effective strategies. Ongoing evolution of food preservation. Food preservation is constantly changing with technological advances and better knowledge of microbial biology and food chemistry. New techniques are continuously being developed, and these techniques have been developed with the goal of improving the efficiency of preservation, maintaining nutritional values, and ensuring greater safety of foods. The evolution ensures that a diverse and plentiful food supply remains available for our enjoyment, irrespective of seasonality or geographical boundaries. Food preservation history is more than just survival. It's a testament to human ingenuity and our never-ending pursuit of a better and more secure food future.